Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, February 14th. Not only do we have to get all the daily quests done so we might win 3,000 packs, but we've got a ton of news. Kofi came on to the chat and said hi. Hi Kofi. On our European account right now we need to win 4 more Tavern Brawls, and in the process we will get three victories. Now we got 1 win, I believe, playing with the rogue, so let's, or was it the paladin? I don't know. We'll try the rogue and we'll see what happens. Because this Tavern Brawl gives us bosses from previous fights. And I was playing as the Chessmaster character. No, I wasn't playing as Grobulus.
You are a fool to come to this place.
Kofi says, lots to do then. Yep. Lots and lots to do. Even though I played extra on Monday to get things done, it really didn't work out that well. But still, Hearthstone still demands so much of your time. That was one of the things that Jim Sterling said about how it seems like the big AAA game developers are trying to turn games into jobs that you pay for the privilege to work on. The Hearthstone is becoming very much a job to play everything. Let's see, now if I hit this, it summons the slime. I don't know if the slime specifically is something I would want. Honestly, I probably should have waited till the 5th turn to play this. That would have been a much smarter move. Kofi says, I'm free for a match. Druid is good in this brawl. Just use the hero power as often as possible. Says Tragic Master. Yeah, I'll go back to Druid. Twitch Prime members can get the first Devil May Cry game free later this month. I assume this is the Devil May Cry HD collection, which that'd be nice, but I really need that in my Steam library. That's the problem with any of these free games you get. Let's see if I hit this one and this one. Let's just do it. Let's just play. We've got a guy in Japanese in his name asking, have I played Nier Automata? No, it's definitely on my list, but the newer games are frankly just too expensive. Nier Automata also suffers from the fact that on PC they still haven't put out that patch they promised like 7 months ago. So that it's kind of difficult to justify playing a game when you know that they said there was going to be a patch. Maybe I should just take it to mean they actually will never get that patch out, but definitely I do want to play Nier Automata. I'd like it if they came out with a PC version of the previous Nier game too. Nier Automata is a little intimidating as a game too, because I'm gonna want to play it all the way through, and I'm probably gonna want to play it to get every ending. So I think I'd probably start that game with a checklist so that I knew what the endings were. I know that the 3 main endings are required to play the game through several times. but then there's a bunch of joke endings too that just require you to die, basically. Maybe you can save scum some of that too. Yeah, so if you want to play Devil May Cry HD collection, get your Twitch Prime enabled. I don't see any reason why anybody shouldn't claim the game every year. Well, not every month. Just log into your Twitch account, claim those games. That way, hopefully that's giving some money to the creators of those games for free. And Twitch Prime, if you already have Twitch Prime, that's a real good deal. The only real thing is if you don't have Amazon Prime, and you're not buying a lot of stuff on Amazon already, it may not be a good deal in that instance. I could definitely see some people not wanting to spend the $70 plus a year to purchase Amazon Prime just to get a bunch of games that they probably will never play on a different non-Steam platform. The Japanese name says, yes, the game is quite hard and very long, plus there's lots of endings, but what was it you were saying about the patch from Nier Automata? I haven't heard about it. Yes, the Steam discussion boards will probably explain it better, but when the game first came out on PC, there's some slight things wrong with it and some kind of major things wrong with it as far as how it displayed elements visually, and there, I believe, is a unofficial patch that you can do and some little hacks that you can do. When you get into PC games, it is very common that some people's PCs just don't play the game quite right, and they promised, the creators of Nier Automata promised to make a patch to fix some of the things, to give, I believe, maybe a few more video graphic settings in the menu. And they said they were going to do that pretty much as soon as the game came out. But they still haven't delivered on that, and it's been 7 months. There is Reddit posts that come up every now and then talking about how they haven't delivered on that promise. Inherently, Japanese video game developers seem to take their time and want to get things perfect. And in this instance, I assume that's what they're doing. I don't think, I believe the company is Platinum Games. I don't think they're intentionally lying. I just think that they're taking it from a patient approach, that whole Shinto patience mentality that is not prevalent in the West. In the West, we want the patch. We want the patch now. We want it, want it, want it. We want it yesterday. We don't want to wait. We don't want to wait for anything. So, yeah, the patch itself probably shouldn't stop anybody from playing the game right now. By the time the patch comes out, you might be cool to play it a second time. Let's go do Hunter first, and we'll come back to Paladin. It's the difficulty thing kind of scares me because I have a little bit of arthritis in my hands, and Nier Automata does look like it's a game that could cause me to button mash a lot, and that usually causes some pain. I could also, for my YouTube channel, if I was going to cover that game, I might just play it to the first ending, which is really not an appropriate place to play
touch the displays.
to stop covering the game. You really do need to get to the multiple endings. So it's a big time investment too. It would be a game where most of my content now I'm making 30-minute episodes. I think in Nier Automata's case, I probably would make an hour-long episode. Kofi asks, can I have a versus game you later? Sure. Sorry, I know I just started the game without thinking it, and as soon as I hit start, I was like, oh yeah. So after this game, unless I forget, which I'll try really hard not to forget, I will stay so you can send me a friend request. I assume you're Destroyer who is spectating me right now, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's see, what's this ability? Give a player a random card, it costs 0.
A game? So kind of you to join me.
I'm going through a comic book artist's posts. Where they're posting pictures that they've drawn instead of looking at video game news, because my Twitter is the only one Twitter account, so on a rare occasion I'm looking at something that's not video game related. I'm just trying to clear all of that out. Let's see, I got several things talking about Amazon. Twitch is, for a short time there, got more viewers than CNN and MSNBC. So all the people watching all the content on Twitch last month got more viewers than the number of people that watch CNN and MSNBC. Now, on one hand, this is a huge, I guess, mile marker for Twitch. It says that there are a lot of people who want to watch video games and not so many people that want to hear the news, particularly these days. But on the other hand, if you're going to be a little bit fair about this, Twitch is effectively a cable company. Every channel is effectively its own channel. That's how I've always looked at my YouTube channel. Like, my YouTube channel is equivalent to CNN or MSNBC. So I would not consider my YouTube channel better or more successful than CNN or MSNBC until my channel alone had more views. And certainly the biggest YouTube streamer like PewDiePie, he may very well have more views than CNN got last month. Maybe, maybe not. So it's really an apples to oranges comparison, but it is the beginning of something, certainly. Let's see. Japanese name again. It said, yeah, I made sure to have good specs before I got the game, so I think I'll be fine. I'm a novice at game level 17. Only level 17, so I'm quite excited about seeing what other things I can do. And then he says later, but the game consists of button mashing, yes, because there's lots of groups of machines in the main area that you roam for in the game, and you need to kill them so you can help with the higher level bots. But in Nier Automata's case, as I understand it, there actually is a plugins, like special chips you can put into the characters, their robot body, that will make the game actually better for you and easier, and you don't have to button mash as much. And it's a slight spoiler to say this, but I believe there actually is a pacifist. Why did... Why did that not work? Like, so yeah, I think there actually is a pacifist run that you can do in Nier Automata 2, where you don't actually have to attack or fight many of the enemies. Yeah. He says, yes, on easy mode there are other chips that help a lot, but you might find it quite boring. I generally talk through games, and when I talk through games like I'm talking now while playing, it takes away enough of my attention that I find easy actually works really well for most games for me. If I'm given the option to play something on easy or normal, and I know it's mostly story heavy game and I'm going to talk and criticize the game, I find easy works good for me. Like, I describe myself as a slightly better than average video game player since I've been playing for decades, and I've played hundreds of games certainly, but when you add in that extra distraction of having to criticize a game, easy works, and I'm not too I'm not too ashamed to play on easy. There have been a rare occasion or two where I have selected easy mode on a game and felt like I had made a big mistake and prefer to go back and play it on normal. But more often than not, if I had chosen to play normal on most games, I would have run into some difficulty spikes in some point of the game that was really hard. Even when I'm playing some games on easy, I'll run into difficulty spikes where it's like one boss is just way stronger than everybody else.
No problem.
Bad gateway. I don't know why that worked. We don't need to talk about that. We already talked about that story.
Stop distracting me!
Let's see. Japanese name again says, I'm gonna watch if you make a series of it. Nonetheless, also you can change the difficulty whenever you want. That's good to know. There's a lot of games that need to put that on the box and in the advertisement. A series I played relatively recently, but not maybe 4 or 5 months ago, was Bayonetta 1 on PC, because it took them forever to put that on PC, and now they're working on Bayonetta 3 that will probably only come out for the Switch because Nintendo has some complicated ownership of rights to it. And I love Bayonetta. It's one of my favorite games. It's very possibly the top 3 action games ever made. And I played through that, but I mostly played it through on easy, and when you realize that Bayonetta has some secrets that you can only get if you beat the game on its harder setting, it's kind of a little disappointing that I missed out on a little bit of that content, but I'm not super disappointed because I still had a good time with what I was able to experience. In most games, it's not like that at all. Most games, the hard mode is just the enemies take more health, have more health, and they do more damage. And so you're not really missing out anything if you play it on easy. But I would highly recommend, if you want to see me play Nier Automata, go watch Bayonetta, or DMC, the reboot of Devil May Cry, is another series I covered. Because those are pretty similar styles of games. Nier Automata is on my list, but I have a very long wish list on Steam of games, and I'm not particularly planning on purchasing anything until probably this summer sale. Like, there was, I thought, going to be a Valentine's Day summer sale, Steam sale, but I'm not seeing that. Like, I'm not seeing anything on sale. At all right now on Steam that's majorly on sale. Just the make war not love thing with Sega. So yeah, I'm thinking I'll probably save any purchases of new games till the summer sale.
Sindragosa versus Sindragosa.
The Japanese name fan says, because my internet is quite bad, I like to play single player games with my friends when my friends aren't on. So would you have any suggestions on single player games? Almost everything I've covered on my channel has been a single player game. So almost everything I've played on my channel are games I would recommend, with a few exceptions of games I've rage quit. The action genre, to stay with something close to Nier Automata, Bayonetta, DMC, those are somewhat similar things and similarly themed. If you're just gonna broaden out into single player games, Witcher 3 is a single player game, Skyrim is a single player game, the Fallout series is a single player games, Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 4 or Fallout 3. It's a hard decision, but I would probably suggest play Fallout New Vegas first, then play Fallout 3, and then play Fallout 4 if you're still into Fallout. If you're willing to play other styles of games, you can play any number of puzzle games and strategy games. Rogue Legacy is a good one. Plague Inc., The Binding of Isaac are all single player games that are different styles of games, but all take up a lot of your time and aren't huge downloads in the first place, so they're not going to fill up your hard drive. Whereas if you were to, say, play the Assassin's Creed series as a single player game, each one of those games are going to be pretty large downloads, but they're still single player and they'll take up a decent amount of your time. Let's see, the Dead Space is a good single player horror game. There's lots of point and click adventure games that are worth experiencing at least once in your lifetime.
Job's done.
The Telltale games, Telltale's The Walking Dead series is probably worth playing. I would argue that playing just The Walking Dead series is a good entry to Telltale games, and if you do Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 of that, you're probably fine. You probably don't even need to do the Michonne side story of The Walking Dead. If you still love Telltale games after doing the entire Walking Dead series, then The Wolf Among Us would probably be my next recommendation. Borderlands is definitely a game that you can easily enjoy as a single player experience for at least the first game playthrough. Borderlands, you play that first game playthrough, you'll be somewhere around level 30 out of a max level 60, and then that's a really great point to have friends who may have characters that are level 60 jump into your game and play co-op with you on the second playthrough. So there's some setup there. Poor internet doesn't really hurt Hearthstone too much if you want to play Hearthstone. If anything, I've found that sometimes Hearthstone, it works better if you have slightly bad internet because it will give you free victories. But if you have really, really bad internet or expensive internet, and it's coming down to, can I only download a couple hundred megabytes a month, I would say go to FTL, go to Binding of Isaac, go to, if you want something really challenging, Super Meat Boy, Plague Inc., things that will have either be a rogue game, roguelike, or roguelite. I won't bother to explain the difference there, but if it has either one of those terms or just the phrase rogue in the game, it's going to be a game designed to be played over and over again, and it's probably not going to take up too much hard drive space. Japanese fan says, well, thanks for the talk. Anyway, I'll definitely be an active fan on your channel, but I've got to get some sleep. See you, dude. Yep. Go to my playlist tab. I have a playlist for every game I've ever covered. That's the best way to see the games I've covered and figure out if any of it interests you.
Move outside.
Man, I'm really not liking these blocks of ice. Let's see, if it's 7:19 Central Time right now, he must not be in Japan because he'd be just waking up. But maybe he works nights in Japan. I suppose that's possible. Let's see, the game Muv-Luv and Muv-Luv Alternate for PS Vita is coming to North America and Europe this summer. PS Vita versions of, I bet it's a romance visual novel, but it's highly acclaimed according to Gamasutra, which that certainly gives it some better clout, I suppose.
Stop distracting me!
What does this do? Just deal 2 damage? So I'm watching the trailer here. Anime girls in your harem. Pick who you're gonna date. Fall in love with, like, 1 guy, 6 girls. Your standard visual novel simulator. A romance visual novel. And then let's look at Muv-Luv Alternatives trailer and see what changes. Well, I've lost. How many cards does this guy have? 16? Yep. Interesting, Muv-Luv Alternative, and this is Muv, MUV-LUV. Seems like you're in a completely different alternative timeline, post-apocalyptic world where everything's falling apart and there's giant mech things. Wow, what a twist! What a turn to do to your romance novel. But you know, both of these look high quality, well animated in the trailers. They have that visual appeal. The Japanese name said I definitely will when I said go check out my playlists. Thanks. Let's see. He could win at any point here. But I'll take this and take the victory. Because I'm trying to get victories. On with the news. Close that tab. There's a animated feature called Alahayr, L-A-H-Y-A-R, and the Legend of Markhor, M-A-R-K-H-O-R, and it is the first to be produced entirely in Unreal Engine. Which is to say something, because usually I would see things like this created in Blender. And you still, I think, have to do some stuff in Blender. But I guess the wireframing and the motion capture and all of that is being done in Unreal, at least for this one animation. It'll be interesting to see if that is the way things go in the future for everything. I need 2 more Tavern Brawl things. So let's try the Priest and then I'll do the Paladin. And I think I've tried everything once. So yeah, Unreal Engine being a video game engine, that's where the video game twist gets put in here. This happened 3 days ago, but I've probably hit the point where I've hit the old news that I talked about when my audio was muted on Monday. So the Dark Souls 3 speedrunner now holds all 8 records, or 8 of the records that are the most recognized. I imagine there's an infinite number of records you could have in speedrunning if you make just really crazy custom rules that nobody else is going to ever even attempt. All secrets cost 0. So he's got like a all bosses speed run for 1 hour and 36 minutes and 46 seconds. So that's certainly impressive. We'll see how long his records stand. This is an article I think I'll skip for now. Let's see. Play this, enter. There's an action platformer coming out called Mulaka, M-U-L-A-K-A. This is from PC Gamer, and you play an indigenous shaman in northern Mexico. Let's watch this trailer. I wish I could put these trailers on the screen in some way. I don't really have a way to do it though. Not in a safe way, not in a way that would get guaranteed no content IDs. And it probably isn't super worth it. So looking at this trailer, you can definitely see a low polygon count, 3D kind of cell shaded, inky looking style. The trees, for instance, are just big blocks of polygons, and I'm seeing a boy shaman that touched like an evil rock that was sucking the life out of the boy. So I don't know, like he was so ignorant he stuck his hand right in front of this evil floating rock with teeth, which an evil floating rock with teeth tells me this might actually be based on a real myth, because that seems a little too creative for most video game people. I'm seeing some other rock creatures with giant teeth in this next trailer. This might be a cool game, but I really need to see some gameplay on it and see how it works. A lot of this looks like some of those unturned days, not DayZ, but like the asset flip games. A lot of this looks like this could easily be asset flipped content merged together to try and tell a story. If they can still tell a story while using some really recognizable or very similar looking assets, that'll be interesting. It's coming early 2018, they say, for PC, Switch, I believe PS4, and the Xbox too. I think it's everything. That's what I just saw. Let's come back and see. Yeah, Steam, Xbox, PS4, and Switch. Early 2018. It's supposed to come out February 27th. So this is one of those games, well, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll put it on my follow list on Steam and keep an eye on it. I'm trying to use my follow list a little bit better and differently than what I've been doing. In the previous instances, I've just put games on the I've just put things on my wish list, and then I was going to come back and look at them. That no longer works, because now that I'm asking people to friend me on Steam and gift me games that are on my wish list as a way of supporting me, instead of trying to run ads and getting pennies on like thousands of views, basically. Getting some games that are on the wish list may turn out to be a little disastrous if I really wasn't certain about that game, or because then I feel it's only fair that I cover a game if somebody buys it for me, and then I might get painted in the corner of playing some game that is not so good and I never had any interest in. Anyways, yeah, we already talked about Micron 3D QLC NAND flash memory. I think this is slightly different 3D NAND flash memory, but Micron's not a company I've heard of. I think I have heard of it, but man, do I not have anything in my head as far as whether they make a good quality product or not. Oops. I did not mean to do that. We go back to the Paladin now and get 2 quick victories if we can. Like, I'm thinking about building eventually a different kind of PC that needs a hard drive. It would be nice if I could put a 2 terabyte SSD in it, because the power usage is a slight concern, but in more realistic, I'll probably have to put a hard drive in it, and hard drives with spinning disks do take up more power, and for what I'm building, even adding vibration to the case is going to potentially be problematic. I already talked about the Gwent Arena draft mode that they're adding. Too little, too late. Again, like, people that love Gwent and are still playing Gwent will be happy with it. Nobody else will. I don't think you're going to bring in any new players because of it.
Job's done.
The Assassin's Creed Origins Discovery Tour is now now available. It's not anything more than really what they said they were going to do, which is that they're effectively, I think, just
Job's done.
just putting in something that makes it seem like this Assassin's Creed Origins should be available to play in schools, but in reality, I honestly don't think Assassin's Creed Origins, the main game, has enough educational value for that, because you still are mostly running around killing people. Like, unlike Minecraft, where you can force people to be well, you can force people to be a little bit more peaceful. You can turn off player versus player in Minecraft. You can't do that in Assassin's Creed Origins unless you just lock it into this history tour mode. And the history tours don't seem like they are hour-long college level explanations of what we know about ancient Egypt. They seem to be mostly just 20-minute experiences. Definitely nice you got them, but it is kind of also questionable as far as why they spent the time to make these elements instead of doing something else. There we go. We already talked about Dead Space being currently free on PC. The problem with Valentine's Day and video games is there's really no good appropriate relationships that you can point to. Like, you can say perhaps The Last of Us is a nice introduction of a relationship to between a father figure and the daughter. Can't attack heroes, apparently. But as far as people who have good relationships, Broken Sword teases a relationship between the two main characters. Broken Sword's a point-click adventure from a long time ago, but nothing really happens there. It's kind of like animated movies too, with the exception of Up and maybe The Incredibles. There's just a very high number of Pixar movies and such that don't have any parents in there or any kind of relationship in there. I'm sure people could name a few more, but particularly in video games, like, no. And you'd think it would be easy. There's a series airing right now called Enslaved Odyssey to the West that again teases a relationship but doesn't fully develop it, and it's the beginning of a relationship. It's not a well-established relationship that's been going on for a long time or anything like that, which changes the dynamic, certainly. Like, most beginnings of relationships are just everybody being nice to everybody, and everybody in that puppy love stage, which is pretty easy to pull off. You'd think Uncharted would have a better relationship there. You think Mario and Princess Peach would have a better relationship? Man, that didn't work either. I'm gonna stick with Paladin. It's like, and then same is true for TV too. You can't. Once you have good relationships in any show, it's very hard to write any drama. It's much easier to either have somebody be alone. But almost any co-op game where you play as a guy and the second player plays as a guy, you could switch them to a girl and then you'd have it. Oddly, Resident Evil 5 might be one of the best, most romantic things or relationship focused things in games out there, because Resident Evil 5 is about Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield and their partnership and how they have mutual respect and appreciation of each other, but it's not a romantic relationship. And that is certainly why when it came a couple of years ago to the point where I was thinking about covering a game for Valentine's Day, the only thing I could find was to do a joke and play Honey Pop, which is a sex game with a puzzle match, a gym puzzle matching mechanic. Dating / sex game. And Honey Pop, frankly, is not acceptable according to YouTube anymore, so I couldn't do Honey Pop 2 when that comes out. Moving on with the news though, because that was kind of more of a philosophical discussion than video game news. The director of Home Alone and Harry Potter is making a Five Nights at Freddy's film. Making being a very broad term because like they're signed on to it, but I don't think production has started, and a lot could change halfway through production or before production started. This director, Warner Brothers was gonna make it, and they're not now. So let's see. Chris Columbus is the filmmaker who made Home Alone, but he also did the last 3 Harry Potters and the Gremlins. So if he's digging deep in his past to Gremlins, you could see why they might pick him. Should I just attack now?
Job's done.
Let's see what happens. I'm not sure what you really do with Five Nights at Freddy's. I think you probably just use that name and then make it whatever movie you want to. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has nothing or very little to do with the video game, and the video game really doesn't have that much of a story. The first Five Nights at Freddy's barely had any, and then there was fans making, like, writing the story, and I think the creator just took that and kept going, which it's not a terrible thought to just let your fans write the story for you. Five Nights at Freddy's is way more popular than it has any right to be, and it's losing people's interest at this point. The general concept makes sense though, and it's kind of surprising that somebody hasn't made a horror game where you're in something like a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant, and the mechanical robots come alive and attack you. Here's a very interesting one from a couple days ago. YouTubers Gavin Free and Meg Turney. Some deranged fan drove 11 hours, broke into their house, and I don't know if he was waving a gun around or not. Yes, he was armed, so one assumes that's gun. And so Gavin Free and Meg Turney were hiding in a closet while this armed deranged fan
to F6.
was searching for them. And I don't know if there's much else you can really say about that. They survived. The deranged person got shot. I did say when I talked about this, when the microphone was muted, that it's kind of this person who's described as single, lonely, and disturbed had to get killed and shot, or it turned out that way. I wish there was better mental health care in the United States so things like this doesn't happen. I assume this happened in the United States. This happened last month and it's just coming out now. This is the number one reason right here. This and swatting. Number one reason you don't give out your information online. Even if you're trying to be a popular YouTuber like me, you just don't give out your real name, you don't give out your address. 99.99% of people will be cool and never do anything, but there's that 0.1%, 0.001% of people that have mental problems and are going to try and do something, whether they think it's a troll or a joke or whatever. It's just too dangerous. And that doesn't just go for YouTubers. Nobody should be giving out their information publicly at all, or even semi-publicly. There we go. One more victory to go. I wouldn't mind a quick victory. Yeah, no. 7:45. Maybe some of my audience has dropped off. I wish I had 1,000 subscribers and that each watched all of my videos, or most of my videos, so that I could tell once I had a big enough sample size whether I should move my recordings, my pre-recorded things, to an earlier time, whether I should try to stream at earlier times. I could probably start streaming at 2:30 most days. Sometimes I'd probably oversleep that, but I've been sticking to 4:30 because that gives me enough time to wake up, look at all the YouTube video that I want to watch, get all the news articles opened on my browser, and just be wide awake and not yawning or sounding unenergetic or more unenergetic than normal, since that's what people seem to say I sound like half the time. Is I either sound drunk to people or unenergetic, and like, okay, whatever. I don't think this would ever work, so I'm gonna just do this now. Sonic the Hedgehog was modded into Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which that's pretty ridiculous, and it looks pretty ridiculous, but I can appreciate the silliness there. And you play as Blue Sonic, and I believe it's Super Sonic, where he's gold when he goes Super Saiyan. Battle some of the friendly minion that died this game. Let's not do that. Do this. Attack here. And end the turn. It really is just a mod to put in a new character model, but it's kind of cool. Let's see. Moving on. There's an explosive physics puzzler called C4, C-E-F-O-R-E. I believe it had a failed Kickstarter. and was labeled as early access or something, and now they're trying to come out of early access again. I'm not seeing anything in this article actually about Kickstarter. C4 doesn't look very interesting to me. It's an explosive Minecraft style game where you're playing as like an older version of Bob the Builder, it looks like. Here we go, we're gonna make it to the Americas account before we go to the post show, which I'm not sure we're gonna do a post show today. If I can get really lucky, I can avoid it.
Where have your journeys taken you?
Yeah, and when I looked at this the first time, I just didn't see enough here to interest me, and I still don't really see enough here to interest me. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip that. C4's out there if you were interested. And let's see, gotta trade this. So Paladin and Priests, Rogue, and Druid. Well, the good thing is I guess I could play against my own account to get some of these victories. Saikai Project has launched a visual novel called A Light in the Dark Kickstarter campaign. A suspense-filled visual novel seeking $28,000 in funding, which is probably not even enough to make a visual novel, which is a pretty cheap game in the first place. It's a collaboration. It's for PC. It's a collaboration between Rabby Ribby developers Cree Spirit and Chinese visual novel tag team duo Stora and Narrator. I guess that explains why the animation is just ever so slightly different from your standard Japanese animated game. Because once the Chinese animators get in there, the quality changes, the style changes. Yep, and this definitely has that feeling. Something. It's not as bad as you would see of an unqualified Western person doing the animation, but it's not quite as good as what you would expect from a good quality Japanese animator. And that's a weird oversimplification, because a lot of the in-betweens in animation and a lot of the other elements are sent to like Korea and other countries anyways. So it's mostly you're translating a visual aesthetic, if any, not the actual visual skill. Sometimes there's a lot of blood in this, a lot of stabbing people with knives. In this one, this is a dark looking game. But I don't know how much of it really is going to be interactable gameplay and how much of it is cutscenes, because like this trailer is really not showing any gameplay. Like the characters are Haichin Jing, J-I-A-N-G, or Haichin, Haochin Jing. Then Mysterious Girl and Young Girl are the three characters. The other two don't even have names. I could go look at their Kickstarter page, certainly, but I don't believe in anybody paying developers to develop games or buying unfinished products or funding Kickstarting unfinished products. And for that reason, it's just the same as always. I don't recommend anybody Kickstarter any of this. Like, they very possibly could take your money and run. This is a nice looking pitch. They've got some stretch goals to give you soundtracks and limited edition things and t-shirts for a game that's not a sequel to any series. There's an $800 stretch goal I'm looking at right now. Like, No. There's too many other games to consider. And I've hit the Humble Bundle store, so I'm not sure if I've accidentally hit it or if I'm kind of at the end of news. Not completely at the end of news, but I'm getting close. There is a new Humble Huni Sekai bundle, which will almost certainly have Honey Pop in it. Honey Pop.
No.
Like, if you pay $1 to unlock, you'll get a bunch of visual novel, romance, sex games, whatever, Steam codes. If there's Steam codes, though, you're probably going to be censored. Like, that seems to be pretty much the way it has to go now. So that there might be a patch there, but I thought Steam was even cracking down on doing things like that, where you could get a patch to uncensored games you bought on Steam. Now, when you go up to the middle tier and pay more than $7.22, which is about $3 more than an average amount you would see for a Humble Bundle, since this is a particularly new one too, that's very surprising. You get Honey Pop, which I already own. You get Honeycomb Studio, which was the sequel from the next game from that company, and it wasn't really that good. You get... Can I zoom in here? Let's make this text a little bit bigger for me. I didn't name any of the games here on the $1. It was Machina, the Planet Tree. Haven't heard of it. A Vader's Sphere 4th. Haven't heard of it.
Signed in blood. Rend and tear.
Sunrider Academy. Kara Kara. Fault Milestone 1, Fault Milestone 2. Alright, the mid tier you get Honey Pop, Honeycomb Studio, Root Double, Before Crime, After Days, Sunrider Liberation, Magical High School Girl. So if you wanted to cover visual novel games, then Sunrider probably is a series to keep an eye on. As if Abby Hepburn was directly listening to what I was saying. A lot of these also say fully voiced or voiced in Japanese. Like, that is a big thing, and why I don't cover a lot of these visual novel games is I just don't want to do the reading. I literally do not want to hear my own voice reading out hundreds of lines of dialogue. Like, I'll read some, but I'm getting worse and worse actually about even reading small bits of written stuff. The next one is a Magical High School Girl. Apparently it has no voice acting. The next one, however, is a game called Just Desserts, and it's fully voiced in English. So with Honey Pop and Honeycomb Studio being voiced in English but not fully, and these other games not being voiced in English, that's like the only game that I could actually play and not be irritated. Also, there's one more game that's coming in 6 days and 24 hours. If you pay $12 or more to unlock, you also get Saku Saku Love Blossoms with the Cherry Blossoms. I feel like I said something dirty there in that title. Let's go ahead and take the victory. Kara Kara 2, Nico Nin X Heart. I think that one's, well, Kara Kara might also be cat dating simulators. Nico Nin X Heart plus Nachi, Nico Nin X Heart plus Saha. And you also get the Honey Papa soundtrack if you pay above the average, and the Honeycam soundtrack. So if you want to spend your Valentine's Day playing sex romance games and visual novels, that's there for you. If that's interesting you. Otherwise, the Humble Bundles, let's see. What else is there? There's a best of 2017 Humble Bundles still going on. And the mobile game bundle is still going on. And there's a couple book bundles that I don't ever bother to cover. Let's see. 38.20 on gold. That 820 gold snuck up on me. Ooh, an epic. So either this epic is going to get turned into dust, or I've just filled in a missing card. Yeah, for 150, that's dust. That is dust territory. So, if we went to the classic cards here, and we typed in missing, which I wish there was a shorter phrase here to type. I've got an epic I can disenchant but can't create. And if I can't make any epic cards, that's no good. Standard cards as far as missing. I could probably find a rare, something like this to craft. But I would prefer to just hold on to my dust. Alright, what else do we need? One more Paladin victory and then we'll have one thing done. I know I still have some news because I had to go into my history. Let's actually start the game and not just sit here. We should be getting close to the point where we can see if uploads on Twitch will stay after 30 days. I have a upload that was on the 21st of January and the 22nd of January. One done as a past premiere and one as just a default upload. Neither one have gotten any views, but how would anybody have even been able to find my Twitch channel since I don't promote it or put anything on it? Tragic Master said good luck on the pack again, and I imagine I opened the pack before I even saw the... Well, I definitely opened the pack before I even saw it. IGDA, the International Game Developers Association, has named a Jin McLean, M-A-C-L-E-A-N, McLean, as the permanent executive director. The IGDA is a pretty well balanced board of directors of both male and female people who work in the industry, and they work together to, I guess, mostly it's just to get indie developers, for the most part, to talk to each other and network, and not just indie developers but regular developers too. I looked at the IGDA's website and see what they were really all about, and there's not anything super important on it. There was an article about making games more friendly for disabled people, and this website had a list of things you shouldn't do and a whole system of if you follow these basic rules, you can use this logo. If you follow these advanced rules, you can use this logo for accessibility. It was rather cool, but a rather long list. That I don't have that page up, I don't think, so yeah, I've already lost.
Job's done.
It's just concede. Like, there's no way to win when playing against this guy with that setup. Like, I don't know what the strategy is to win against that guy at all. Ubisoft had a third quarter financials meeting and they touted Assassin's Creed Origins and the quote PC opportunity, which in their idea is they want to not make as many games for PC or as many games in general, and instead they want to take longer to make a longer lasting, better game that might have microtransactions in it. In kind of a weird way, you could look at it and say that Ubisoft is saying they don't want to make games anymore, and instead they just want a service that will get microtransactions and milk the customer. Or you can be optimistic and look at it and say they want to do like they did with Assassin's Creed Origins, take 2 to 4 years to make the next game. They just announced today that their focus is to make more DLC for Assassin's Creed Origins for the next year. So the idea of we're going to support this game for 10 years gets said a lot. We'll see if it really happens because it gets also said and then not followed a lot. But it really is Ubisoft's best bet until they are put under more pressure for being taken over by Vivendi. As long as Vivendi stops their attempt at a hostile takeover, then they can breathe, and they would, I think, prefer to breathe and not release games. Some may very well argue that even in the days of Assassin's Creed 1, as they were making an annual series there, that might have been because of pressure of a hostile takeover more than the desires of the people that were in charge, or perhaps the people in charge now have changed their desires. So I'm trying to keep it interesting. There's this early access game called I'm trying to be positive is what I meant to say. There's this early access game called Slasher's Keep on Steam. It has a very interesting looking and cool artistic style. I don't know if it's really worth buying right now, but it is something I'm going to keep an eye on. The artistic style and the comedy is cool, but it's also very possible that it is a rather boring game in the long run, because it's randomly generated dungeon crawler from a first-person perspective with a cel-shaded, artsy looking thing. It's available right now for $14. It's not something I would say buy right now for $14. It has 38 user reviews and 92% of them are positive, however. But we did cover some stories earlier today in the live stream of people manipulating their reviews on Steam, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more stories on Friday of people getting in trouble for manipulating their streams. So yeah, I would say keep an eye on Slasher's Keep. It's in my follow list. It's something slightly interesting as a throwback, as a goof. If it's not a super long game, that's fine. If it turns out to be a really, really long game and it tries to be something like Diablo 3, that's probably too much for this art style and perspective. Honestly, I'd probably only want to spend 5 to 10 hours in a game like this.
Marvelous.
Speaking of Diablo, they just now are hiring a gameplay programmer for Diablo 4. So that game is not like actively in development, or it was in pre-programming development, I suppose. So don't expect to see that one anytime soon. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy has a 10-minute videos of gameplay. It kind of proves you're gonna get what you expected. You're gonna get 6 of the SNK heroines in skimpy clothing and silly costumes fighting each other. It's very flashy, very full of confetti style stuff. It's pretty fast-paced, and it's fine. I assume these 6 characters are going to expand to 12 or more characters through DLC, and that they're going to try and milk you. So we need Druid or Rogue. I don't want to play Rogue, so I'm going to try Druid. They're probably going to try and take as much money from you through DLC on this one too. This one is all about the cheesecake, all about the lewdness and the titillization, which is fine, but if I wanted to play a real fighter game, I'd still play Dragon Ball FighterZ over this. This would be my backup game, my 3rd or 4th game of fighter games if I was big into fighter games. And that's, I think there's room for it to exist, but in the market, because there's not that many fighter games, particularly since nobody really likes Capcom versus Capcom Infinity or whatever it is. So I'm glad it exists. I wish Rumble Roses came back as a series. Honestly, that was a wrestling game with girls in skimpy outfits, but I don't know if it ever would. Probably didn't sell. Yeah, inherently games like these don't sell as well as they probably want them to. Ubisoft came out in their report and said new releases led growth, and that gave them a Ubisoft's speech, as it was translated to me and reported to me, seemed to really adapt a completely different, like, I'm gonna squelch this guy. They really seem to say things you're just not used to hearing from people like Ubisoft. Friday the 13th developer has shown off a video of Hitman inspired single player challenge mode. It's pretty brutal, but it also looks like most of what they're showing you in the video as you play Jason Voorhees trying to kill camp counselors. It seems like a lot of it is just direct animation, and with not too much actually being added to the gameplay mechanics, which it's kind of clunky to walk around as Jason Voorhees and then have 4 buttons to attack and kill somebody. He's not a smooth moving character. It's not like he's gonna run up to somebody and then you're gonna press A to jump and then B to swing a hatchet. On the other hand, it would be very cool if they somehow figured out a way to translate Friday the 13th from being a slowly failing multiplayer game into a single player game that actually has a reason to buy and play in 2 years or 3 years. Like, because that's where I would come in and really want to play this game, is if they could put enough of these single player challenges together in a row and just merge it into a single player story. That would work. And it would kind of make sense too, where throughout a game your goal on each level is to kill 1 or 2 camp counselors as Jason Voorhees. It's at least a step forward than Dead by Daylight. I don't think that game's gonna have much more support to it, and the several other games of similar types of ideas. Moving on to Geometric Puzzler Cube 2. That's Q period U period B period E period 2 is coming out next month. It's a puzzler. It's getting special promotion, I imagine, from PC Gamer because they're talking about it a little bit more than they normally should or would. Let's see. These guys just keep getting stronger and stronger. Let's see. I probably do want to play Cube 1 first. Yeah, I definitely want to play it before I play Cube 2. But it looks like it might be an interesting puzzler, so I don't completely discount it, but also it's not at the top of my list. Not even close. The free-to-play PS4 game Let It Die has topped 4 million downloads, which is pretty surprising. Like, I wasn't expecting it to still have any teeth. I would like to play Let It Die if it ever came to PC, but it would be a free-to-play game probably on PC too, and the game itself is not even really the interesting part to me. It is the artistic style and the people behind it, and Grasshopper Manufacturer, I think, is who's got my attention there. But I probably would only spend a couple hours on it and give up, in all honesty. If we do this, five or more health, it hatches. Like, I don't know how a corrupted egg would ever have 5 or more health. Is there a card that plays a corrupted egg? I guess there isn't. I've never seen it before. There's a game called Fear Effect Sedona that launches March 6th. It's an isometric top-down first shooter game. It's the sequel to a very old game just called Fear Effect, and then in a weird way it's coming 18 years after the original game that came out on PlayStation, so it's been a long time, and they're going to make a remake of Fear Effect, so which is called Fear Effect Reinvented, and it's in development right now for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC. Switch and PC. Not getting those victories very fast, am I? The animation looks really good in the cutscenes for Fear Effect Sedona, but the top-down actual gameplay, your camera's so far away that it could basically be anything. You're just walking down corridors and shooting guns, and you have like cone of visions, and it's like XCOM if XCOM wasn't turn-based. XCOM becoming kind of my point of reference for these top-down tactical strategic games. It looks interesting though, and if people have passion for a game this 18 years later, it has validity in my mind to be played. So I probably will try and wait until Fear Effect Reinvented comes out and play them in order, since I don't know the story, but maybe I would do Sedona first. Nintendo is uncertain about the 3DS's future after the Switch's success. That's not super surprising. The only thing I could imagine that they would do is instead of having the Switch just be their only increment, I wouldn't be surprised if they thought about making a bigger, somewhere around 12-inch screen version of the Switch, but that might change things and make it more difficult for compatibility. Or that they might come out with a smaller 5-inch size screen for the Switch that makes it a little bit more portable than the Switch is, which I don't see a real reason why you would need to do that. Like, the only thing the 3DS has in size over the Switch is that the Switch probably is pretty obvious that the kid's holding that, where I imagine a kid trying to hide that he's playing 3DS in school could potentially hide that in the folds of a book or under a desk a little bit easier, but that's hardly a reason to... That's not going to be a selling point. So we probably can assume that the 3DS is not going to be available or in production after a year or so. They'll just keep repairing it and making parts. But we're going to see fewer and fewer games, both first-party and third-party games, made for the 3DS, and when that happens, it gives them all +1 health. Oh, what an interesting way for this to work. There's a full MMO Minecraft mod for Minecraft Java, I assume, called Wyncraft, W-Y-N-N-Craft. Honestly, I feel like Minecraft has kind of lost its popularity. Oddly, one of the Minecraft streamers most recently came on after being... he kind of said he was being emotionally unfaithful to his wife. He didn't actually cheat on her, but he's just like not doing what he felt he should be doing correctly with his wife. And he came back on a month later and he's like totally moved across the country, and he started talking about how he was just really into being a good Christian these days, and I don't think he was joking either, so it's like a very far swing, and I would imagine some of it actually does have to do with just like the adpocalypse and how much stress people who are big time YouTubers or even small time YouTubers like me have been going through with the fear and the actual loss of income from doing YouTube. And so, but on the other side, covering Minecraft these days, it's becoming a more and more niche thing. I don't watch very many YouTubers that cover Minecraft anymore, and I used to watch almost 100% of everybody I was subbed to on YouTube 4 or 5 years ago were all Minecraft streamers. We don't need to talk about that article. There's a boring looking game called A Case of Distrust. It's a noir tale with many inspirations. This is a piece of rock, paper, shotgun article. It's out now for $15, but it looks like it has barely any animation at all, and is just a kind of visual novel without either the visuals or the novel elements done very well. Gamasutra had an article called Peek at some of the original design documents for Mega Man X, and it's literally 3 sentences that just point you to a Twitter post that shows you somebody that posted some original design documents for Mega Man X. They didn't even bother to like get the images and put them on their own site, which was pretty pathetic. Alright, let's close that. I think I'll save some of these for Friday, unless it's just breaking news. Got some jobs. And so I'm back to Twitter. So this will be our last game until we go into the post show. We've been going another 45 minutes over. So I could have made a 4th recording at this point, and probably should just learn to do that. Let's see. So I'm slowly scrolling down my Twitter feed, seeing if anything new has happened in the hours since starting here. Not really much of a news report here, but Dynasty Warriors 9 came out, and most people are finding at least some flaws with it. To me, it seems like, as somebody who's played probably one Dynasty Warriors like game, something that was probably in that series, or a spin-off series, it looks like it kind of missed the whole point of what a Dynasty Warriors game has been for the past few generations, and then it didn't add anything. Here, PC Gamer has an article, Kingdom Come Deliverance may be the new heir to the Crisis Throne. I feel like that's probably some clickbait as far as an article. Warhammer Vermintide 2 comes to the PC on March 8th. That might be a new announcement. Let's see. Scrolling down, we've covered so much news. Lots of people just tweeting, you know, your standard hey, I may get a victory here from a disconnect. They're just tweeting their Valentine's stuff, which is a little weird because it's not really. What was I gonna say? I'm not paying enough attention, clearly. Yeah, most of the people I follow on Twitter are news people, so them posting the Valentine's stuff is all weird. This one's gonna hatch into a 7/7. Nice.
Time for killing.
There we go. I'm just gonna scroll down Twitter here. I think we're done. There's another Summer of Code from ScumVM. The script creation utility for Maniac Mansion. I gotta get 4 more of these victories, and you know, I'll play my secondary account to do it. It'll just save me some time. The Evil Within aired an hour ago on my channel. Let's see. It's an article we can talk about on Friday. Oh, there was a game called Labyrinth of Refrain Coven that's coming out this fall from NIS America too. I'll talk about that on Friday. It's not a big deal. It's just a dungeon crawler JRPG game. Well, not a JRPG, a dungeon crawler. Let's keep on scrolling. Sea of Thieves is going to have DLC microtransaction type things for pets. It's not going to be loot boxes, and they apparently Microsoft wants a pat on the back for not putting in loot boxes but still having microtransactions, and I don't think that's going to fly with very many people. Let's see, keep on scrolling. Keep on scrolling. Are we going to see anything else? Keep on scrolling. I think we've hit where I was before. And if that's the case, then we're good to wrap up here. Well, there's a new article. Giant Bomb is selling hockey jerseys. I don't know why. That seems like they're selling, buy my merch, basically. Which, by the way, I don't sell any merch. I probably should, but then I'd need an artist to make all that stuff, and that's not something I'm super focused on. Yeah, I think we're good, because there's my announcement of this live stream, so clearly there can't be any more news after that. Alright, that's it for this recording. Stay tuned for the post show. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me, give me a game on Steam. That helps more than watching ads. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.